The neon lights of Neo-Hanoi flickered through the perpetual haze, casting eerie shadows across Con Min's face as he navigated the crowded lower district market. 28 years old, with sharp features softened only by eyes that had seen too much. Min kept his head down as he passed vendors, hawking everything from synthetic food to bootleg memory chips. The smell of electronics mixed with street food created the unique aroma of desperation that defined the memory bazaar. Fresh sorrows, pristine childhood traumas, discount on family deaths, a vendor called out, his voice mechanical and practiced. Behind him, holographic displays showcased snippets of memories. A child crying at a funeral, a woman watching her home burn, a man receiving terminal diagnosis news. Min averted his gaze. Even after 5 years as a memory broker, the casual commodification of pain still unsettled him. His communication device pulsed at his wrist. New contract. High priority. Upper district client. Price classification. Platinum. The automated message announced. Subject requires complete memory extraction related to deceased spouse. Additional non-disclosure agreements required. Min sighed. Platinum meant serious money, the kind that could cover his mother's medical treatments for months. It also meant dealing with the upper district elites, those wealthy enough to discard memories like yesterday's fashion. He tapped his acceptance and changed direction, heading toward the elevator platforms that would take him to the upper district. As the platform rose through the layers of Neo-Hanoi, Min watched the transformation. The lower district's chaotic streets gave way to manicured gardens and gleaming spires. The air grew cleaner, the sounds more refined. The year was 2145, and the world had divided itself more starkly than ever before. After the climate crises and population collapses of the previous century, humanity had found new ways to stratify itself. Memory exchange technology, originally developed to help trauma victims, had become the ultimate luxury good. The wealthy purchased happiness, adventure, and love. The poor sold their suffering to survive. And people like Min? They were the brokers, the intermediaries who facilitated the exchange, taking their cut along the way. The platform stopped at the upper district's central hub. Min straightened his jacket, a knockoff of the latest upper district fashion, but good enough to avoid immediate suspicion. His client lived in one of the exclusive towers overlooking the artificial lake, where holographic birds flew in patterns programmed to evoke peace and tranquility. Security scanned him at the tower entrance, their eyes lingering on his lower district identification chip. Memory broker, Min said, showing his license. Meeting with Mr. Duong. The guards exchanged glances but let him through. Memory brokers were the necessary evil that connected the two worlds. The elevator whisked Min to the 157th floor. Moving so smoothly, it barely felt like motion at all. The doors opened to reveal a penthouse apartment, larger than the entire building Min had grown up in. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcased the sprawling city below, the lower district barely visible through the pollution layer. "Mr. Con Min," a voice called. "Thank you for coming on such short notice." Duong Fong stood by the window, a tumbler of amber liquid in his hand. He was in his 60s but looked 40, thanks to the combination of genetic therapies and carefully curated memories. As a senior director at Memory Corp, he had access to technologies most people couldn't even imagine. "Your reputation precedes you," Duong continued. "They say you're the best at handling delicate extractions." Min maintained his professional demeanor. "I prioritize client confidentiality and clean transfers. Mr. Duong, may I ask what memories you're looking to extract?" The older man turned to face the window. "My wife died 3 months ago. Cancer. The treatments failed." "I'm sorry for your loss," Min said automatically. "Don't be. I want her gone. Completely. I want every memory of her extracted and destroyed." Min hesitated. Total extraction of relationship memories was rare and dangerous. The mind wasn't designed to have significant chunks removed. Sir, I should warn you about the psychological risks. I know the risks, Duong snapped. I helped develop the technology. For God's sake, I want it done. Tonight. Something about the man's urgency sent warning signals through Min's mind. This wasn't just grief. There was fear there too. The standard rate for a relationship extraction of this magnitude would be... Triple it, Duong interrupted. Just get it done. I've prepared the necessary equipment in my home office. Min nodded. Though his unease grew, rich clients often wanted quick, discreet services. But this level of desperation was unusual. The home office was a stark contrast to the rest of the penthouse, where the living areas were designed to impress. This room was purely functional. A memory extraction chair, the latest Memory Corp model, not yet available commercially, stood in the center. Multiple screens displayed brain mapping interfaces. You have your own extraction equipment, Min observed. That's unusual for a private residence. Duong didn't respond. He simply sat in the chair and gestured for Min to begin. The procedure was complex. Min attached neural sensors to Duong's temples and began the mapping process. As the system identified memory clusters related to Duong's wife, Min noticed something strange. Certain memories were already isolated, as if prepared for extraction. Have you attempted this procedure before? Min asked. Just get on with it, Duong replied, eyes closed. As the memories began to transfer to the external storage, Min followed standard protocol, reviewing random samples to ensure proper categorization. Most were what he expected: intimate moments, arguments, daily life with his wife. But then, something unusual appeared in the stream. A laboratory, Duong and his wife, with a team of scientists. The words Nexus Core displayed on a screen. Test subjects, lower district residents, hooked up to early memory extraction devices, their faces contorted in pain. Min's heart raced. He'd heard rumors about Nexus Core, a mythical technology that could not just extract or implant memories, but erase them permanently from society. A way to eliminate protest memories, to literally wipe revolution from the collective consciousness. He tried to maintain his composure, continuing the extraction while secretly flagging this memory cluster for later examination. If Memory Corp was developing technology to mass erase memories. Is something wrong? Duong asked, eyes still closed. No, sir. Just ensuring proper segregation of emotional clusters. As the procedure neared completion, another memory fragment caught Min's attention. Duong arguing with his wife, her threatening to expose something, her sudden illness. Min's hand trembled slightly on the controls. Had Duong murdered his wife? Was he erasing the evidence? The extraction completed. Min removed the neural sensors and began the standard closing procedure. The extraction is complete. Mr. Duong, I must advise a 48-hour rest period before returning to work or making any significant decisions. Duong stood immediately, ignoring the advice. The memory crystals, all of them. Min handed over the storage devices containing the extracted memories. As agreed, I've made no copies. You'll need to... I know what to do, Duong interrupted, taking the crystals. He walked to a small incinerator unit in the corner of the office and dropped them in. The crystals melted instantly, the memories they contained lost forever. Or so Duong thought. Memory brokers had tricks of their own. The neural sensors Min used included a secondary backup system, preserving echo traces of particularly strong memories. Not complete copies, but enough to reconstruct the essence. And what Min had seen in Duong's memories needed to be preserved. Our business is concluded, Duong said, transferring the payment to Min's account. You were never here. This never happened. Min nodded and left, his mind racing. The glimpses he'd caught of the Nexus Core project suggested something far more sinister than the already ethically questionable memory market. Not just voluntary memory trading, but forced extraction, Mass manipulation, control. As the elevator descended, Min made a decision. He needed to find Lin An. The rain started as Min reached the lower district. Acid droplets that burned slightly on exposed skin. Few people could afford proper protective clothing, so most hurried along under makeshift shelters, or simply endured the burn. Lin An's apartment was in what locals called the Fading Quarter, a section of the lower district where journalists, artists, and academics lived in deliberate opposition to the memory economy. Many residents wore memory blockers, preventing external extraction. They believed in preserving their experiences, good and bad. Min knocked on the steel door, glancing nervously over his shoulder. If Memory Corp discovered he'd copied fragments of Duong's memories, the consequences would be severe. The door opened a crack. "Min?" Lin An's voice was cautious. "It's been what, 2 years?" "I need to talk to you," he said. "It's about Memory Corp and Nexus Core." The door opened wider. Lin An, 27, with fierce eyes and a perpetually furrowed brow, ushered him inside. Her apartment was small but organized, walls covered with old-fashioned paper notes and photographs, a deliberate rejection of digital memory storage. "I thought you were too busy getting rich off memory trafficking to remember old friends," she said, but there was no real bite to her words. "I needed the money," Min replied simply. "My mother's treatments." "I know." Lin An softened slightly. "How is she?" "Stable. For now." Min hesitated. "But that's not why I'm here." He described his session with Duong, the memory fragments he'd seen, the hints about Nexus Core. As he spoke, Lin An's expression grew increasingly grim. "Show me," she said when he finished. Min removed a small device from his pocket and placed it on the table. It projected a holographic display, fragmented, incomplete, but clearly showing the laboratory, the test subjects, the Nexus Core interface. "This confirms it," Lin An whispered. "I've been investigating Memory Corp for months. Rumors about forced memory extraction in the poorest districts. People disappearing, returning days later with gaps in their memories. But I couldn't prove anything." She pulled out her own device, showing Min her research. Nexus Core isn't just another memory product. It's a system designed to identify and remove specific types of memories across large populations. Primarily, memories of protest, resistance, or dissatisfaction with the status quo. "Mass memory erasure," Min said, the implications sinking in. "They could wipe out any opposition before it forms." "Exactly. And it's launching in a month. Once it's operational, Memory Corp will have unprecedented control over public consciousness." Min paced the small room. "We need to stop it, expose them." Lin An shook her head. "With what evidence? These fragments aren't enough. Memory Corp owns most media channels, and they'll discredit anything we release. We need more." "Then we'll get more," Min said with a determination that surprised himself. He'd spent years as a neutral intermediary, avoiding taking sides. But what he'd seen in Duong's memories had crossed a line. "I have contacts. People who might know more." "Be careful," Lin An warned. "Memory Corp doesn't play nice with whistleblowers. And remember, I'm already on their radar. My last 3 articles about memory inequality were blocked from major platforms." Min nodded. "I'll contact you through secure channels." "And Lin, thank you." "For what?" "For still believing I'm worth trusting." She smiled faintly. "I remember who you were before you sold your memories. Min, maybe someday you will too." The words stung, but Min couldn't deny their truth. He'd sold many of his own memories over the years, childhood traumas, moments of shame or pain, to fund his mother's treatments. Each sale had left him feeling less whole, his identity increasingly fragmented. Back in his small apartment, Min secured the memory fragments in a hidden safe. Then, he sent a carefully coded message to an old contact, Hak Long, a former colleague who'd ventured into the black market memory trade. The response came quickly. Old terminal, midnight, come alone. The old terminal had once been Neo-Hanoi's primary transportation hub before the elevated platforms replaced ground transport. Now it was a shadow market, where memory traders conducted business beyond Memory Corp's monitoring systems. Min arrived exactly at midnight, navigating through the crumbling architecture. The main hall, once magnificent, now housed makeshift stalls selling illegal memory crystals. Experiences too extreme, too dangerous, or too subversive for the regulated market. The prodigal son returns, a voice called from the shadows. Hak Long emerged, 32 years old but looking older, his face bearing the distinctive scars of memory extraction gone wrong. Still playing by the rules, Min. Not anymore, Min replied. I need information about Nexus Core. Hak Long's expression hardened. Dangerous territory, even for me. He gestured for Min to follow him deeper into the terminal, where the noise of the market faded. In a small room that had once been a ticket office, Hak Long activated a signal jammer. Memory Corp has ears everywhere these days. Now, what exactly do you want to know? Everything. What it does, how it works, when it launches. Hak Long studied him. Why the sudden interest? You've never cared about the politics before. I've seen things, Min said simply. Things that make me question everything. After a long moment, Hak Long nodded. Nexus Core. The ultimate memory control system. It doesn't just extract or implant. It erases, completely. Not just from the individual, but from collective consciousness. How is that possible? Memory networking. When Memory Corp developed the universal memory chips, they built in a backdoor. Every memory ever stored, shared, or transferred goes through their systems. Nexus Core can identify memory patterns across the entire network and selectively delete them. Min felt cold. So they could erase the memory of a protest, a corporate scandal, or a genocide, a revolution, anything they want. Hak Long leaned closer. But here's the interesting part. There's a resistance forming. People collecting and preserving memories outside the network, building an alternative memory bank that Memory Corp can't touch. And you're part of this resistance? Hak Long laughed. I'm a businessman, Min. I go where the profit is. Right now, there's profit in helping these idealists. Tomorrow, who knows? I need to meet them. Not possible. They don't trust outsiders, especially not licensed memory brokers. Then what can I do? Hak Long considered him. There's a woman. Calls herself Aiko. She's developing counter-technology, ways to restore erased memories. Find her, and you might find your way to the resistance. How do I find her? She frequents the night market in Sector 7, trades in high-value emotional memories, joy, love, wonder, pays premium rates, which is unusual. Most traders want the dark stuff. Min nodded. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Hak Long's expression turned serious. Be careful, Min. You start pulling at these threads. There's no telling what might unravel. And Memory Corp doesn't forget its enemies. Neither do I, Min replied. The night market in Sector 7 operated in the shadow of an abandoned factory. Unlike the regulated memory markets, transactions here happened in whispers, with memories changing hands in unmarked crystals. Min observed from a distance, watching for anyone matching Hak Long's description of Aiko. After an hour, he spotted her, a woman in her early 30s, with a distinctive white streak in her black hair, examining memory crystals with methodical precision. He approached cautiously. I hear you pay well for joyful memories. She didn't look up. Depends on the quality. Authentic joy is rare these days. And what about authentic fear? The kind Memory Corp wants erased? Now she looked at him, her eyes narrowing. Who are you? Someone who's seen what Nexus Core can do. Someone who wants to stop it. Aiko studied him for a long moment. "Not here," she finally said. "Too many eyes. Too many ears." She led him through winding alleys to a nondescript building. Inside, the contrast was stark. Cutting-edge technology filled the space. Memory analysis systems, neural interfaces, equipment Min had only seen in Memory Corp's promotional materials. "You're well-funded," he observed. "We have supporters." Aiko removed her jacket, revealing arms covered in neural interface tattoos, a permanent connection to memory systems. "Now, tell me exactly what you've seen." Min described Duong's memories, the laboratory, the test subjects. As he spoke, Aiko's expression grew increasingly grim. "It's worse than we thought," she said when he finished. "They're accelerating the timeline." "You already knew about Nexus Core?" "We've been tracking it for years. My brother—" She hesitated. "My brother was one of their early test subjects. He came back with half his memories gone, including everything about me. They told him he'd always been alone." "I'm sorry," Min said. "Save your sympathy. What we need is action." Aiko activated a holographic display. Nexus Core isn't just a product. It's a system designed to reshape reality itself by controlling what people remember. The first target will be political memories, protests, resistance movements, critiques of corporate power. Then personal traumas that might motivate people to seek change. "How do we stop it?" "We don't stop it. We subvert it." Aiko's eyes gleamed. "I've developed a technology, Memory Echo. It creates backups of essential memories, stored in a decentralized network. When Nexus Core erases a memory, Echo can restore it." "But that would only work for people who've used your technology beforehand," Min pointed out. "That's where you come in. As a memory broker, you have access to Memory Corp systems. We need you to plant our code in their network." Min hesitated. "That's extremely dangerous. If they catch me—" "If they succeed with Nexus Core, nothing will matter anyway. We'll all become what they want us to be, docile consumers with no memory of resistance." The truth of her words hit Min hard. He thought of his mother, of the memories he'd already sacrificed, of the fragments of identity he'd lost along the way. "What exactly would I need to do?" Over the next 2 weeks, Min lived a double life. By day, he continued his work as a memory broker, carefully selecting assignments that gave him access to different parts of Memory Corp systems. By night, he met with Aiko and Lin An, sharing information and planning their resistance. Lin An had continued her investigation, documenting cases of suspected memory tampering in the lower district. "They're running tests," she explained during one meeting. "Small-scale erasures to prepare for the full launch. People are losing memories of local protests, community organizing efforts, even personal grievances against Memory Corp. And my colleagues are helping them," Min said bitterly. "Brokers like me, facilitating the process. Most don't know what they're really doing," Aiko pointed out. "They think they're just transferring memories, not enabling mass manipulation." "Ignorance isn't innocence," Min replied. "I should know." As the launch date for Nexus Core approached, their plan took shape. Aiko had developed a code package that, if integrated into Memory Corp systems, would create a backdoor for Memory Echo. Min would use his broker access to plant it during a high-profile extraction session with an upper district client. But as they finalized their preparations, Min received an unexpected message from Hak Long. "Need to meet. Urgent. Same place." Against Lin An's advice, Min went to the old terminal alone. Hak Long was waiting, visibly agitated. "You've made powerful enemies," he said without preamble. "Memory Corp knows someone is investigating Nexus Core. They're monitoring all communication about it." "How did they find out?" "They have sources everywhere, including the Resistance." Hak Long lowered his voice. "But that's not why I called you here. I have a proposition." Min tensed. "What kind of proposition?" "There's a group of us, black market traders, former Memory Corp employees. People who understand the real value of memories. We're planning something bigger than your resistance friends could imagine. What exactly? A complete takeover of the memory economy. We've developed our own version of Nexus Core, one that doesn't erase memories, but redistributes them. Imagine taking the joyful memories of the upper district and giving them to the lower, taking the traumas of the poor and making the rich experience them. Min stared at him. You're talking about forced memory transfer on a massive scale. That's not liberation. It's just a different kind of tyranny. It's justice, Hak Long insisted. Those people have bought happiness while the rest of us suffer. They deserve to know what it feels like. And you'll be the ones deciding who gets what memories? Setting yourselves up as the new controllers? Hak Long's expression hardened. I thought you'd understand. You, of all people, know what it's like to sell your own past piece by piece. Don't you want revenge on the people who made that system possible? What I want is freedom. Real freedom. For everyone to keep their own memories. Min stepped back. I can't support this. Then you're against us. And that's a dangerous place to be. Hak Long's hand moved to his pocket, where Min glimpsed a neural disruptor, a device that could scramble short-term memory. I'm sorry, old friend, but we can't let you warn your resistance friends. Min reacted instinctively, knocking the device from Hak Long's hand and running. Behind him, he heard Hak Long shouting for his associates. The chase through the old terminal was chaotic, with Min using his knowledge of the back passages to evade his pursuers. When he finally reached safety, he immediately contacted Lin An and Aiko through their secure channel. Hak Long is planning something big, a forced memory redistribution, and Memory Corp knows about us. We need to accelerate our timeline, Aiko replied. Nexus Core launches in 3 days. It's now or never. What about Hak Long? Leave him to me, Lin An said. I have contacts who can monitor his group. You focus on infiltrating Memory Corp. The next day, Min received a high-priority assignment, a memory extraction for a Memory Corp executive, the perfect opportunity to plant Aiko's code. But when he arrived at the designated location, he found not his client, but a security team waiting. Con Min, the lead officer said. You're wanted for questioning regarding unauthorized memory access and suspected terrorism. Min's mind raced. Had Hak Long betrayed him? Or had Memory Corp been watching him all along? There must be some mistake, he said, playing for time. I'm a licensed broker with a perfect record. Then you have nothing to worry about. The officer gestured to a vehicle waiting outside. Come with us to Memory Corp headquarters. Mr. Duongfeng himself wants to speak with you. Min knew that if he entered Memory Corp headquarters, he would never leave, at least not with his memories intact. He had to escape, but 5 armed officers surrounded him. Just as the situation seemed hopeless, the building's security system suddenly activated, emergency lights flashing. In the momentary confusion, Min made his move, ducking past the officers and racing toward the back exit. Outside, a vehicle pulled up, Aiko at the wheel. Get in, she shouted. As they sped away, Aiko explained. We hacked their security system when we saw you were compromised. But now, we've lost our chance to infiltrate before the launch. Not necessarily, Min said. I have another way in, but it's extremely risky. What is it? My mother. She's in Memory Corp's medical facility. Staff and family have access badges that can get us into certain areas. If I can get to her. Aiko nodded grimly. It's our only option now. They drove to the outskirts of the upper district, where Memory Corp maintained a private medical facility for employees and their families. Min's mother had been transferred there 3 months ago, when her condition had worsened. It had been the reward for Min's years of loyal service as a broker. Wait here, he told Aiko. If I'm not back in an hour, assume I've been caught. The medical facility's security was focused on keeping people out, Not in. Min's broker identification still worked at the entrance, though he received suspicious looks from the staff. His mother's room was at the end of a long corridor. She lay in bed, connected to various monitors, her face peaceful but vacant. The memory treatments had taken their toll. To manage her pain, doctors had extracted many of her most emotional memories, leaving her in a state of perpetual calm that bordered on emptiness. "Mother," Min said softly, taking her hand. Her eyes opened slowly, recognition dawning gradually. "Min, is it time for my treatment?" "No. Mother, I need your help." He explained as simply as he could what was happening, what Memory Corp planned to do with Nexus Core. She listened silently, then reached for the drawer beside her bed. "Your father always said memories were sacred," she said, her voice distant. "Even the painful ones." From the drawer, she removed her access badge. "Take it. Do what you must." Min kissed her forehead. "I'll come back for you, I promise." "Don't make promises about the future," she replied. "Just remember the past. All of it." With his mother's access badge, Min made his way to a service entrance of the main Memory Corp building. Aiko waited in a stolen maintenance vehicle, wearing a technician's uniform. "The central servers are on the 47th floor," she said. "That's where we need to plant the code." Using his mother's badge and Aiko's hacking skills, they managed to reach the server level, undetected. But as they worked to access the main system, alarms suddenly blared throughout the building. "They've found us," Aiko said, fingers flying over the interface. "I need 2 more minutes to upload the package." "You won't get 2 minutes," a voice said from the doorway. Duongfang stood there, flanked by security officers. "Mr. Khan, I'm disappointed. You had such potential as a broker." Min positioned himself between Duong and Aiko. "You're planning to erase people's memories of resistance, to control what everyone thinks and feels." "We're creating harmony," Duong replied. "A world without the pain of conflict, without the suffering of futile resistance." "You're creating slaves," Duong sighed. "You've been misled by these terrorists. Nexus Core doesn't erase individuality. It enhances it. By removing disruptive memories, people can focus on personal growth, happiness, achievement." "Defined by you," Min challenged. "What about the test subjects who lost everything? What about your wife, who you murdered when she threatened to expose you?" Duong's expression hardened. "Security. Take them both. Full memory extraction and reprogramming." As the officers advanced, Min felt a strange sensation, a memory surfacing, one he thought he'd sold years ago. His mother, teaching him an old martial art form, movements designed to disable rather than harm. A memory he'd kept hidden, even from himself. In a fluid motion, he disarmed the nearest officer and created enough chaos for Aiko to complete the upload. "It's done!" she shouted. "Memory Echo is in the system!" But their victory was short-lived. More security personnel poured into the room, quickly overwhelming them. As Min was restrained, Duong approached him. "You think you've accomplished something? We'll purge your code before Nexus Core launches." He gestured to the officers. "Take them to Extraction Room 1. I want to personally oversee their reprogramming." As they were led away, Min caught Aiko's eye. Despite their capture, she looked strangely calm, almost triumphant. In Extraction Room 1, Min and Aiko were strapped into advanced memory extraction chairs. Duong personally supervised the preparation, determined to learn exactly what they had done to his system. "Begin with her," he ordered, pointing to Aiko. "I want to know everything about this memory echo technology." As the technicians attached neural sensors to Aiko's head, she suddenly smiled. "You really should have checked my identity more thoroughly, Duong." Confusion crossed his face. "What are you talking about?" "My real name is Aiko Fong, your wife's sister." The revelation visibly shook Duong. "Impossible. My wife had no family." "That's what you made her believe. What you made everyone believe." But some memories can't be completely erased. They leave echoes. While they argued, Min noticed something strange happening to the extraction system. The displays were glitching, showing memory patterns, spreading throughout the network. "What have you done?" Duong demanded, also noticing the anomaly. "Memory Echo isn't just a backup system," Aiko explained. "It's a virus. Right now, it's restoring every memory your Nexus core has ever erased. Not just to the original owners, but to everyone connected to the network." "That's millions of people," Duong gasped. "Exactly. Every suppressed protest, every covered-up corporate crime, every act of resistance you've tried to erase, it's all coming back. And not just to those who experienced it firsthand, but to everyone." As if to confirm her words, alarms began blaring throughout the building. On the monitors, they could see chaos erupting in the streets below, people stopping mid-stride, clutching their heads as forgotten memories suddenly returned. Not just their own, but collective memories of oppression and resistance. "You've doomed us all," Duong hissed. "Do you have any idea what happens when people receive memories that aren't their own? The psychological damage? The confusion?" "We're giving them the truth," Min said. "Let them decide what to do with it." In the ensuing chaos, Min managed to free himself from the restraints. He released Aiko, and together they escaped the extraction room, making their way through the increasingly disoriented security personnel. Throughout the building, employees stood frozen, overwhelmed by the flood of restored and shared memories. Some wept, others raged. Many simply stared in shock as they experienced the suffering their company had caused. Min and Aiko fought their way to the main control room, where they found Lin An already at work, broadcasting the truth about Memory Corp and Nexus Core to every communication channel in Neo Hanoi. "How did you get in here?" Min asked, amazed. "Turns out when everyone's having a simultaneous memory crisis, security gets pretty lax," she replied with a grim smile. "Plus, I had help." She nodded toward a group of lower district residents, former test subjects of Memory Corp's experiments, now reclaiming their stolen memories and their dignity. Outside, the city was in uproar. The memory echo had spread beyond Memory Corp's network, affecting neural implants and memory chips throughout Neo Hanoi. People in the upper district experienced the hardships of the lower for the first time. Those in the lower district gained glimpses of the privileged lives they'd been denied. "It's working better than we hoped," Aiko said, watching the monitors. "The shared memories are creating a kind of collective awakening." But Min wasn't celebrating. On one screen, he saw the medical facility where his mother was housed. Patients were in distress, overwhelmed by the sudden influx of memories. "My mother," he said. "I have to get to her." Leaving Aiko and Lin An to manage the broadcast, Min fought his way through the chaotic streets to the medical facility. Inside, he found medical staff struggling to cope with patients in various states of distress. Some were catatonic, others violent, many simply weeping uncontrollably. His mother's room was empty, the bed neatly made. A cold fear gripped him as he searched the facility, finally finding her in a common area, sitting calmly amid the chaos. "Mother?" She turned to him, her eyes clearer than he'd seen in years. "Min, you did something to the memories, didn't you?" He knelt beside her. "Yes. I'm sorry if it hurt you." "Hurt?" She touched his face gently. "My son, I remember everything now. Your father, your brother, all the joy and pain we shared. I remember who I am." Relief flooded through him. "Can you walk? We need to leave. It's not safe here." "Where will we go?" "Somewhere quiet, away from the city." Together, they made their way out of the facility and through the streets of Neo Hanoi. The city was transformed, not just by the physical chaos of riots and protests, but by a fundamental shift in consciousness. People from different districts were helping each other, sharing experiences, finding common ground in their newly shared memories. In the distance, the Memory Corp tower burned, symbolic of the old order's collapse. They found Lin An and Aiko at a predetermined meeting point. "We've done it," Lin An said. "Memory Corp is finished. The public knows everything." "And Duong?" Min asked. "Gone," Aiko replied. "Escaped in the chaos. But he won't get far. Too many people remember his crimes now." "What about Hack Long and his group?" Lin An shook her head. When Memory Echo hit, they were trying to implement their own memory redistribution plan. The system backfired, leaving them trapped in a feedback loop of their worst memories. They're not a threat anymore. Min looked out at the city. His city forever changed. And now, what happens to all these people with memories they never lived? "They adapt," Aiko said. "They learn from them. They build something new." "And us?" "I'm staying," Lin An said firmly. "There's still work to do here, stories to tell, truth to preserve." Aiko nodded. "I'll continue developing Memory Echo, refining it to help those most damaged by Memory Corp's experiments." But Min knew his path led elsewhere. "I need to take my mother somewhere peaceful, somewhere she can truly heal." 3 months later, Min stood on the shore of a small fishing village, hundreds of miles from Neo-Hanoi. The air was clean here, the rhythm of life dictated by the tides rather than memory transactions. In a small cottage overlooking the sea, he had established a memory sanctuary, a place where people could voluntarily share their memories, not as commodities, but as gifts, where the elderly could preserve their wisdom for future generations, where trauma survivors could find healing through shared experience. His mother helped him run the sanctuary, her own memories now fully restored. Each day, she seemed stronger, more present, reconnected to her authentic self. They received regular updates from Neo-Hanoi. The collapse of Memory Corp had led to a fundamental restructuring of society. The memory economy still existed, but under strict ethical guidelines developed by a council that included Lin An and Aiko. Memory technology was being repurposed for healing rather than profit. Hak Long had survived the Memory Echo incident, but had lost much of his own identity in the process. Reports suggested he was living in the ruins of the old terminal, collecting memory fragments from abandoned crystals, trying to rebuild himself. Duong had been found in a remote location, attempting to erase his own memories of guilt. He now awaited trial for his crimes against humanity. As for Nexus Core, its remains had been dismantled, its code studied by independent researchers to ensure nothing like it could ever be built again. Min still carried the emotional scars of his years as a memory broker. He still felt the absence of memories he'd sold, still woke sometimes uncertain of who he truly was. But here, by the sea, helping others preserve their most precious experiences, he was finding a new purpose. A visitor arrived at the sanctuary, an elderly fisherman who wanted to preserve his knowledge of the sea for future generations. As Min prepared the memory preservation equipment, simpler, safer technology than what Memory Corp had used, he reflected on the nature of memory itself. Not a commodity to be bought and sold, not a weapon to control and manipulate, but a sacred trust, the foundation of identity, the bridge between past and future. "Are you ready?" he asked the fisherman. "Yes," the old man replied. "But tell me, what happens to these memories after I'm gone?" Min smiled. "They become part of our collective wisdom, not forced upon anyone, but available to all who wish to learn. Your experiences, your knowledge, preserved but not exploited." "And people come here voluntarily to share their memories?" "Yes, more each day. People are rediscovering the value of authentic experience, of memories freely given rather than taken or sold." The fisherman nodded, satisfied. "Then I am ready." As Min began the gentle process of memory preservation, he felt a sense of peace he hadn't known in years. The weight of his past actions as a broker would always be with him, but each day at the sanctuary offered a chance for redemption. In the distance, his mother walked along the shore, collecting shells, a simple joy she'd rediscovered with her restored memories. Beyond her, the endless sea reflected the sky, a reminder that some things remained beyond human control or commodification. Min thought of Neo Hanoi, of the memory markets and extraction clinics, of the people still struggling to rebuild their identities after years of memory manipulation. Change wouldn't come easily or quickly. The temptation to escape pain through memory erasure remained strong for many. But here, in this small sanctuary by the sea, a different path was emerging, a future where memories were honored rather than exploited, where even painful experiences were recognized as essential parts of the human journey. As the fisherman's memories flowed into the preservation system, decades of wisdom about tides and weather patterns, fish migrations and storm warnings, Min felt the man's quiet pride, his deep connection to the natural world, his desire to leave something meaningful behind. This, Min realized, was the true value of memory, not as a product to be consumed, but as a gift to be shared. Not as an escape from reality, but as a guide to living more fully within it. When the preservation was complete, the fisherman thanked him and departed, promising to return with friends who also wished to share their knowledge. That evening, Min received a communication from Lin An. The reconstruction of Neo Hanoi was progressing. The memory markets had reopened, but under new regulations that prioritized ethical practices and fair compensation. Memory technology was being redirected toward healing trauma and preserving cultural heritage. "We're building something better," she wrote. "Slowly, with many setbacks, but with hope. Your sanctuary has inspired similar projects throughout the region. People are remembering what it means to remember." Min smiled at her choice of words. To remember what it means to remember. To reclaim the sanctity of experience, the dignity of an unaltered mind. Outside, the sun set over the water, painting the sky in colors no artificial memory could capture. His mother called to him from the garden, her voice strong and clear, filled with the warmth of genuine emotion. In that moment, Min felt a completeness he had thought forever lost. Not because his fragmented memories had been restored, many remained sold or erased, but because he had found a new way to be whole. Not through forgetting or escaping, but through accepting the broken pieces and building something meaningful from them. The memory merchants had taught the world that experiences could be bought and sold, that happiness could be purchased and suffering discarded. But here, in this quiet place by the sea, Min and others like him were teaching a different lesson, that our memories, both joyful and painful, are not commodities but birthright, not products but identity, not burdens to be shed but foundations upon which to build a more authentic future. As darkness fell, Min joined his mother in the garden. Tomorrow, more visitors would come to the sanctuary, bringing memories to preserve, seeking healing from manipulation, learning to value their experiences without price tags. The work would continue. And somewhere in Neo Hanoi, Lin An and Aiko would be fighting their own battles, ensuring that the hard-won lessons of the Nexus Core disaster were never forgotten. That the true price of forgotten moments, the loss of identity, of community, of shared humanity, remained vivid in the collective consciousness. The memory merchants had fallen, but the challenge remained, to create a world where memories were treasured not for their market value, but for their meaning. Where the past, with all its joy and pain, was neither erased nor exploited, but honored as the complex, messy foundation of human experience. It would not be easy. The temptation to forget, to escape, to commodify would always exist. But in his sanctuary by the sea, Min had found his answer: to remember, to witness, to preserve, not just for himself, but for all who would come after. The price of forgotten moments was too high, the value of remembered ones, immeasurable.